Another day and another Rugby World Cup squad. So let's have a look at Wales. On this video, I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers. Leave your comments. What do you think of this Wales squad? Can Warren Gatland mastermind an unlikely Wales run deep into the competition? I wouldn't put it past him and Wales from doing it. And they've done it before. And there is Warren Gatland just over there, looking a bit like, well, he either looks like a Welsh coach, like some kind of weird Father Christmas, or like his new jobs at the post office. But here he is as Wales head coach, and he's named his squad. And one big omission we have to start with here. No one called Jones in this squad. Not a single Jones in the 33-man Welsh squad, which has, and I have checked this because, yes, I am that sad. I've gone back and checked. That has never, ever happened before for Wales at a Rugby World Cup. They've always had at least one Jones in their squad, but none. But they do have Thomases, and there's a Davis, and there's a couple of Williams as well. So hopefully, if you're Welsh, that makes up for it in these unprecedented Jonesless times. But a big boost in this squad. Great to see two hookers, arguably Wales' two best hookers, certainly in the case of Dewi Lake, but also Ryan Elias fit as well. Dafydd Jenkins has also come through any injury concerns as one of the locks in the squad. That's a big positive. And Wales need positives after the result at the weekend against South Africa in Cardiff. Other headlines, two co-captains, that's interesting. Dewi Lake and Jack Morgan. And I think that's quite symbolic, that, in a couple of ways. Firstly, that demonstrates new blood, which Warren Gatland is breathing into this Welsh team. And to make some of the newer faces co-captains, I think that speaks volumes about where Wales are at and the evolution they're going through. But also the fact there are co-captains, I think, backs up the fact that Warren Gatland still has a lot of decisions to make and isn't totally sure on exactly what he's going to do, even this close to a Rugby World Cup. I think that's just where Wales are at. They're going to... Well, Warren Gatland's going to be deciding on his Welsh team and what his best 15 is during the World Cup. There's still some question marks. Other headlines, two scrum halves. I don't think I expected that. Warren Gatland seems to have got rid of Kieran Hardy and just left with the two scrum halves, Thomas Williams, Gareth Davis. And instead, he's been able to have an extra back three player. And you can understand the logic of that because, well, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's only France, isn't it? It's not like the World Cup's in New Zealand, where it's a couple of days travelling to get another player out. This is, a couple of hours across the channel. Despite the fact that quite a few Welsh players have gone to play in France and then come home feeling homesick. Lee Halfpenny and Rhys Webb didn't like France particularly, but nonetheless, it's very close. So that makes sense. And it also makes sense because you've got Liam Williams and Lee Halfpenny as two fullbacks. And they're relatively injury prone. And you can imagine Warren Gatland would want to manage their minutes. And by having one fewer scrum half and one extra back three player, guess it allows that to happen. So then, going through the squad, in the front row, Gareth Thomas, Corey Domachowski. That he'll be buzzing about that, Corey Domachowski getting picked. Nicky Smith as well. And then hooker, like I say, you've got Lake, Elias and D, tight head props, Dylan Lewis, Tommy Francis and Henry Thomas. That's a bit of a concern for Wales going forward. They don't have much newer blood at tight head prop. Asirati came in and, found life going quite tough. He will get better. But, you've effectively got two Englishmen that are part Welsh, and so rightly, I'm not knocking them being in the Welsh squad, but they weren't born and bred Welsh. They didn't grow up dreaming of wearing the Welsh badge. And in fact, Henry Thomas played for England, so they need to try and find a bit of depth going forward. But for this World Cup, fine. They found life a bit tough on that side of the scrum, particularly against South Africa, but then it was South Africa. Second row, Adam Beard, Dafydd Jenkins, Will Rowlands. Back row, Chris Chunza, you imagine, will be a sort of backup lock. But then you've also got Jack Morgan, Aaron Wainwright, Taulupe Faletau, Tame Basham, Dan Lydiot, Tommy Raffel. Quite a lot of back row players. Again, I don't know. What's the Wales starting back row going to be for the big games against, Fiji and and Australia. I couldn't pick it. Really, I don't have a clue. And that speaks volumes about where Wales are at. 19 forwards, potentially very good, potentially quite green. So work to do, and I'm sure they'll be doing it in camp. 2 nines, as I discussed, Davis and Williams. 10, Bigger, Ainscombe and Sam Costello. And again, another injury-prone player in the back line in Gareth Ainscombe, and only 14 backs being picked. And I think Ainscombe, with him being there, it opens up, it eases the pressure a bit at fullback because Ainscombe can slot in there. I don't know. Will Warren Gatland go for the jugular and go for Ainscombe, who is Wales' best attacking 10? I'd pick Dan Bigger all day personally, but he quite likes the Ainscombe starting and Bigger finishing combo. So we'll see. Centre, another area with big question marks next to it for Wales. Some potentially very good. Nick Tompkins, Mason Grady, Johnny Williams, George North. Tompkins and North have had plenty of rugby. Grady and Williams, not so much. And outside backs, Lewis Rees-Zammit, Rio Dyer, Liam Williams, Lee Halfpenny, Josh Adams. I think when I look at the Welsh squad in general, there are actually quite a lot of players that were at the last World Cup. I think basically you could almost make a team of players that were at the last World Cup. There's about 14 or 15 of them, and some of them are just not in great form or haven't played in a while. Talupe Faletau being one example. Some of them are injury prone. As I mentioned, Gareth Ainscombe. Dan Lydiate isn't necessarily the player he was, but he still could do a job. If enough of those experienced old heads can raise their game at key times, then Wales are definitely going to be, well, they should feel confident of getting out of their group. In fact, the way I look at it, I think Wales are either going to get knocked out in the group stages and lose to Fiji and Australia, or they're going to go to a semi-final. And I honestly couldn't tell you which one of those it's going to be. There you go. I might put see if I can put a little poll in the comments. Group exit or semi-final. What is more likely with Wales? If you had to bet on one of those things, group exit or semi-final. And honestly, I think both, I'm kind of 50-50. I think both are equally as likely. Warren Gatland's got a lot of work to do. He knows that better than anyone. But the one thing you know about Warren Gatland teams is they work their nuts off. They are going to be working hard. They're going to be fit. What's that phrase Warren Gatland uses? Be the best at the things that require no skill. So effort, attitude, work rate, you're going to get that from Wales. And that means they're always going to be in with a shout of winning a game, particularly on that side of the draw, as we know. See you on the next video.